Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. If you're a cyclist, you want to go faster? Then let's giddy up. Go. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa, Capital Cycles. Hey! Bike racing yesterday, the North Island Trust House Team Series Race 2. Went pretty good for me and Team FitLab. We got the jersey. Let me tell you all about it. Tell you what I learnt. Tell you what grinds my gears. We'll look forward to next week's race. Alright. Yesterday, out in a course from Martinborough down to take a little lefty off to Cape Palliser, and the Masters finishing near the top of a hill there and turning around, come back. Kind of a, I'd say a hilly course in some of it. The way out it wasn't, some of it was, and it broke everything up pretty good in the way that we hoped that it would, to such a point where Team FitLab was able to put some guys, including me, into a good break, come away with fourth place, and the leader's jersey, which if you're looking at the screen, it's like me in it on the podium there, next to Gary Anderson, and the Master 2 jersey, and the Open guy, can't remember his name. Let's get some data here. Got really a race of two halves. This is an unusual experience of having a race that goes to pretty much exactly the plan you thought that it was going to go to. So, looking at the wind for this course, we noticed that it was a southerly and a slight, probably southwesterly. So what that meant was headwind out, tailwind back. And because the start is just the nature of it as well, it's relatively flat for the first 30 Ks. There's not a lot of opportunities to do much, and the bunch stayed together like we thought it would. That all changes very dramatically at the turn left towards, what's it, Narwee? I want to say Cape Palliser, it's not, it's Narwee. And that's because there is a hill. Scroll down here, a short, sharp climb followed by a little flat and a fast descent before what looks like a long climb, and I think a lot of people were surprised to see kind of much less gradient in most of it than most people expected. In fact, some of the rollers on the Cape Palliser, Lake Ferry Road were a lot more dramatic than that, really. But there was some crosswinds, so basically bunch was together until it was lit up by all of the good riders on the front. We had Andrew Jamison, me, and Scott McDonnell managed to make that, and from there on, a lot of groups got really separated a lot. Coming up what appears to be the long climb, but kind of isn't really. Scott, we always planned to keep the pace on and high to keep the groups separated out, keep the effort on, and he did a really good job. We had the group would change. Sometimes it would be sort of 4 or 5 guys. Guys like me, Scott, Brendan McGrath was always up there, Matt Weber was always up there. We had Kieran from Roadworks come over temporarily and then went straight out as fast as he came over. The pace up there, not particularly high. Averaging for 10 minutes up there, 340 watts. It's not massive by any stretch, but the crosswind and putting it in the gutter in some places in the right times, it did manage to break things up somewhat. Turnaround was a little bit dodgy like I thought it would be because it came in quite fast to the turn, had to turn, come back up a small rise. There was a lot of power there, and if I have a look, there was a coming back out of the turn for about a minute, putting out 460 odd watts. That's fairly strong. And from there down down the hill, back up the other side of the small climb, we have a group of 4 or 5. Again, minute 24, 470 watts or so. Trying to really keep the pace on to make sure the group would stay separate. You had a group of sort of 4 or 5 of us, the aforementioned guys, followed on the road by dribs and drabs. What that kind of meant is that down heading north, we needed to just keep that on. And we worked reasonably well together. Some stronger than members of the group, some weaker. And here, coming into the final 10 minutes, we had a attack by various people, but Matt Webber coming off the front, and I bridged over to him. We worked well in this period here. You can see a very steady power delivery, only about 320 watts average for about 6 minutes while we were away, which was steady, not huge but steady. We caught, we were bridged by Brendan McGrath, and into the final. We had planned that if this did happen, because Scott wasn't picking up series points, that I would be on his wheel to up the pace for a decent lead out to the line, which more or less happened. We did drop Matt off the train. Brendan stayed with us, and about a minute prior to that, we did have Andrew Young go off the front on his lonesome. Neither me nor Brendan were particularly fussed about chasing him because he didn't have any series points. That said, he's a very good and dangerous rider, so he wouldn't have gone if we could avoid it really, but he did, and he rode really strongly to take the win. I was led out somewhat by Scott, but Brendan was so strong that he came around, took a fine second from me in third, Scott in fourth, Matt Webber coming in fifth, and then another 20 seconds back to Glenkirk and the others. I was worried about Nicholas Monroy from Cycle Nation, who was in the jersey, and I wanted to make sure that we ideally made enough places up to get him out of contention, which in the end did happen. And I was able to pick up the leader's jersey, which is exciting. And raced Masters 2, with a win finally by Gary Anderson. But the winner, a really good ride on the day by Hugh Buke, who is not only a savage but is very reliable and will be a good climber coming into race 3, which is the climbers race of the series. I think Gary Anderson will have his work cut out for him, fighting Hobe for the jersey after that one. And then the elites, Andy Hagan from Wheelworks taking a really good win. James Forsh and Michael Vink. So that was good for Wheelworks to come out with a good win. So if we look at the data, 2:07, 2 hours and 7 minutes ride time, 81.8 k's, climbing 647 k's miles, but not a lot, meters, not a lot, but quite strange how it came. Small chunks. Left-right balance 52.48, that's okay. Average speed 38.6. Slow on the way out, fast on the way back. In fact, if I look at that section from final climb through to the final 40 minutes of the race, average speed of 46 kilometers an hour there, so that's pretty strong. You can see that tailwind helping on the way out, from the start to the turn, we were creeping. An average speed of only 34.3 k an hour, an average power of 254, so very, very relaxed start to the race. An overall power of 270 watts for an EP of 319, which was not hard. The second half of the race we had a much higher EP, around about 330, 340, but still not up there. So it's weird. You can do well in races. It's not always about, sometimes you can have a very hard race and will put a lot of effort in it. It doesn't necessarily get you a good result, and it can be vice versa. Average heart rate 153, maximum 172. That's interesting. So my max heart rate starting to come up as I come into decent form. Always kind of does that. When I'm in good form, max heart rate comes up. It was really early in the piece there. I must have been chasing something. Average cadence 89, which is slowish, probably because of the climbing. Training load 133, so a strong ride, but not hard, just more tactical than anything, that one. So what I like to do in terms of analysis sometimes is to look at how hard a race is. What you can do is you can use, if you're using cycling analytics for your data analysis, and I strongly suggest you do, you can use a special feature in Power Curve, which I quite like. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you want to know how metabolically how hard a race is, instead of looking at power, you can look at your normalized power, or your effective power, as they call it in cycling analytics, and that takes into account all of the metabolic cost of all the accelerations that you're doing over and above the pedaling, the actual raw power, and the fact that sometimes you're pedaling and sometimes you're not. So you can go to the power curve here. You can look for, say, a 1 year period. I can change that to all time. I can change it so that this is all of my power curves. The reason, if you're looking at the screen, looks like there's about 10,000 little power curve lines all squiggled together, is because that does represent all of my rides with power for about, 4 years or 5 years, however long I've been using power. So what you want to do is you want to look at, change it to all your rides there, change it to EP. So that power curve represents your EP. You'll see it's flat up until about 2 minutes because they discount that data. And then after that you can get a good sense of the true difficulty. And then what you can do is you can hover above a section here. A really good sort of rule of thumb is to look at your normalized power for 20 minutes. That'll give you a good chunk of idea of how hard probably the hardest part of the race was as a whole. Usually going to be somewhere in the second half. So if you hover over the 20 minutes and click, scroll down, you'll see here a big list of rides. What this is saying is, as they rated from top to bottom, strongest versus least, of all the rides there in terms of EP for 20 minutes. So you can see there my best ever was 451 watts, average EP for 20 minutes, 5th of June 2017, Tailwind, stage 5. That was a brutal monster fest of attacking filth in the rain, which I hope to never to repeat. Masters Club, Road Race Champs, blah blah blah, and down and down and down. So what I want to do is I want to have a look down the list here and see where yesterday's race rated. I think it was easy, but I don't know. There it is. 15th of October 2017, Northland Team Series Race 2, 400 watts. So my normalized power, my best normalized power for 20 minutes in this race was 400 watts. That's a full 51 watts down on what Taranaki was like. So, it is still probably in the top, whatever that is, 20 rides of all time, but it's not massive. So that is a good tool to use. Power Curve, EP, hover, click, and you can search for any period of time and get this list how hard, in terms of EP, the race was. I find that quite handy for determining whether you thought it was hard or whether it really was hard. That gives you a bit of a clue to your form as well. This week, I have the thrill of announcing to you that I don't have anything that grinds my gears, so I'm going to move on to next week's race, which is Wellington Masters Cycling Club Graded Road Race, 22nd of October. This is the 9 o'clock, the sainted local Wallaceville circuit. You go start, I imagine, top of Wallaceville Hill, or near there. You're going to go down the valley, over Mangaroa Road, careful on the descent, first sharp little descent, down back towards Upper Hutt, take a lefty, climb Wallaceville Hill again, so each lap is about 10 k's or something, maybe 14, something like that, 12. I'm going to do 4 laps for 52 k's. A good climber's course and a good little warm-up for something like Taupo, anything with a chunky-ish climb in it, not huge. Wallaceville's maybe 4 to 6 minutes at race pace, something like that. Not massive, but decent, somewhere between a VO2 max and an FTP climb, I would say. Great for training on. And by the way, if you want to go out and do some threshold power intervals, it's usually just the right grade and just the right length in a convenient spot. Wallaceville Hill, recommend. So I'll be going out to that, and I'm looking forward to it. I'd like to say thank you to Di Chesma for taking some fabulous photos of yesterday's race. She came over and took some photos which you're going to refresh the FitLab website with over the next week. And also, because she's clearly just a delightful individual, plenty of photos for everyone to like, tag and share on Facebook. Go and have a look. Chesma, there's some great photos. It's weird how something grinds my gears. Photographers, they always claim that nothing's ever quite perfect, and their photographs, to a dummy like me look great, but it's never. They're always a bit of a perfectionist about their photos, which I really appreciate, and they look great. So thank you. We at the FitLab team want to congratulate you and say thank you for spending a whole day with us. Much appreciated. As always, guys, if you'd like a training plan from me, go to fitlab.co.nz, email me, steve@fitlab.co.nz. This is brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa, and Capital Cycles. I'll see you on the weekend. Thanks for watching / listening to Fast You Fall, brought to you by FitLab, Capital Cycles, Tailwind Nutrition, and Biomaxa. If you'd like to get in touch for a coaching program or testing, you can get hold of me, steve@fitlab.co.nz, or go to fitlab.co.nz. Talk soon, guys.